This is my biggest ever trade, and many of you will absolutely hate it. I sold a huge amount of my Solana tokens, which was my biggest bag in crypto, to move across to another ecosystem, one that just isn't really very popular right now. And in this video, I'm going to explain exactly why I've made that switch, and why I think that this new coin's ecosystem could explode in a way that we saw Solana's ecosystem blowing up at the end of last year. Hit the like button, let's go get some gains. Now guys, if you've been subscribed to my channel for a long period of time, which many of you haven't because my channel has grown very quickly over the last year or so, then perhaps you saw this video that I made on the 31st of December 2022, when I told you that I was going all in on Solana. And no word of a lie, I did. Solana was at that point $8.40, and obviously it's been a pretty good trade, with Solana reaching over $200 this year, and currently being priced around 140 bucks. So before I tell you what I've switched my Solana tokens to go and buy, let me explain a little bit about the method behind this madness. I bought Solana at this point, $8.40, when everyone was absolutely hating on Solana, calling it a scam, saying it was going to go nowhere because of FTX crash and all that drama. And I thought at the time, well, Solana was still pretty decent as a token. It had some pretty big backers like Chris Bernice, Raoul Pal, and others. And at those prices, it made a lot of sense. So I thought, like any good investor, to go against the grain is usually a better way than going with the grain. So I thought, go towards the hate rather than the coins that everyone's backing. And this is going to help you to understand that there's a layer 1 out there right now that's getting more hate than any other coin. So which coin have I switched across to? Well, Solana right now has a market cap of $64 billion, which is pretty damn big. And one of the things that's been driving that success, it can be found over on DeFiLlama.com. If we look into the revenue, you can see that the revenue on Solana has been absolutely surging. The fees have been going bananas. The volume has been absolutely crazy over the last year or so. The total value locked has also been increasing, all until very, very recently. And many people are like, yeah, well, it's because Tron created Sunpump and they've taken all the meme coin trading volume away from Solana. Well, yes, that might be having a little bit of an impact, but actually it's not really the meme coin volume that's propping up Solana. Previously, it's been a lot of stuff to do with DeFi, it's been a lot of stuff to do with DeepIn, and while it still remains the layer 1 of choice for DeepIn, actually there's another blockchain right now that is stealing volume away from Solana like crazy. But it's a blockchain that everyone doesn't really like very much. And I'm going to address those issues shortly. So what is the coin? Well, I wanted to find another layer 1 other than Solana, which I do think will continue to go up before you get really sad about it. Okay, I know there's a lot of Solana maxis. I was a Solana maxi for a very long time. I still hold a lot of Solana, I just don't hold as much as I did. And here's the reason. Solana is currently valued at $64 billion, but it seems to be losing a lot of traction, and that's why I'm kind of making this switch. And you have to come a lot further down this list to find out where this traction is being lost to, and it's actually being lost to this coin, Sui, with a market cap of $2.7 billion. Now, I know a lot of you absolutely hate Sui, and I don't know why, because it's a crypto, it's a digital coin, and you shouldn't have any feelings of love or hate to any of these coins, because it's just a bit sad. Actually, it's not just a bit sad, but it's actually really bad for you as an investor, because it means you get stuck in coins for way too long, or you kind of get angry and you miss out on opportunities because of your emotional attachment or feeling to any particular coin. As DaVinci J15 says, I don't date it, I don't hate it, I just trade it. And that's actually one of the smartest things he said. Apart from maybe buying Bitcoin in like 2013, which would have been also pretty damn good. But, you know, maybe we weren't paying attention at that time. So I will address all the FUD and the hate surrounding Sui, because it's probably actually, you know, fair enough. But we're going to jump across to DeFiLlama.com. Now, Sui, you can currently see, has a total value locked of $731 million. From a market cap perspective, at $2.7 billion, it's around 30 times smaller by market cap than Solana. But at 30 times smaller, it's actually doing more daily transactions than Solana, and it's currently doing 4.5 billion transactions today. And this has been upticking over the last few months, which, whether you like it or not, is pretty impressive. And as we look into TVL, we can see that Sui is pretty much cracking new levels, new highs for its TVL, and many are starting to lean towards Sui as a choice for DeFi applications. But there's so many problems which you've already been shouting at me or leaving down in the comments. First of which is that maybe the circulating supply is not particularly great, in that currently it's only at 26%. But token unlocks and circulating supply and all that is actually a little bit of a common myth in how it actually affects the price of things, typically because it only identifies half the issue. It only identifies something that is known versus the demand, which is something that is unknown. Therefore, when we've seen huge unlocks in the Sui price, like we did back in early July, we never actually saw like significant sell-offs or anything like that. In fact, the price did sell off once around the start of July and then literally got bought back within a few days of that first initial sell-off, going up 41%. You can see then it sold off like the rest of the crypto market on the 5th of August, but from the 6th to the 10th of August, it surged 131%. which is massive given the size of the market cap for this particular token. No other crypto coin in the top 100 tokens surged as aggressively as Sui did after that 5th of August sell-off. And that's very important because it takes big money to jump in and buy that dip, and they were buying into Sui. Solana didn't recover anything like as aggressively as Sui did. Now these token unlocks will continue into 2026, which is fine for me because by 2026 I'm going to be well out of crypto, probably like trading NFTs and doing other sort of degenerate stuff. But end of 2025, 2026, I think we're going to see horrific recession. It's been pretty brutal on crypto, so I'm going to take my winnings and wait for the house prices to fall and then maybe go and cash into some property. And if you want to know more about what to do after the crypto bull market and when to actually maybe sell somewhere near the top, and make sure you're subscribed, because I'm not just going to keep telling you to buy and get stuck into this hype train that everyone else is. I'm going to be well shot of it, and I think you should probably do that as well. Okay, so we addressed the first bit of FUD, but there is another bit of FUD floating around, and again, it doesn't sound great. Don't really like the sound of it. And it's basically the foundation for Sui is basically staked a bunch of tokens that are supposed to be locked. And then they've been like selling stake tokens, which is obviously a big no-no. But actually, you could argue that maybe they've just been selling the fees generated from the staking of tokens, which maybe isn't great, but not quite as bad as like the full-on selling of locked tokens. Because if they're actually locked, then they can't sell the locked tokens, which is probably why I assume it to be the case. And it's just used as a narrative to fuel more further hate towards Sui. So why do people hate Sui with such a passion? Why did they hate Solana with such a passion? Why does everyone love other coins like Casper and whatever? Well, because when Sui first launched, it dumped down about 82%, around a time when the market in general was pretty buoyant. And that meant that everyone was like, I hate it, it's a scam, the way crypto works. Solana was apparently a scam, and then everyone started to love it. ICP was apparently a scam, and then everyone decided to love it when it had like one of the better performances last year. Everybody loves Casper because it's been going up for a long time. Eventually, it will probably sell off and dump towards the downside, and then all those people will be like, it's a scam, okay? And that's just how it works, right? So when Sui eventually gets down here, all these people who are still butthurt from this initial VC sell-off are still kind of butthurt now, and eventually they'll stop hating Sui when it breaks beyond $2 and starts to be outperforming the market, when they all decide to just FOMO back into it, and then they're like, oh, I love it again, okay? Which is why it makes very good sense to go towards those coins that are actually fundamentally very strong that people hate, okay? Because eventually those people get turned around and they start to love it again. Whereas if you go to those coins that everyone is already in love with, they haven't necessarily got that much room to go up, because you need more new people to come in to fall in love with that coin. And if they don't, then, it's actually quite difficult to get the price to right. Make sense? So what's going on with Sui? Well, Sui, as we've already talked about, lightning fast transactions. Basically, the tech behind it kind of similar in a way to what you're seeing with Solana, but perhaps an upgraded and better version. Because unlike Solana, so far there's never been outage, okay? It's been running at 100% uptime. But also like Solana, again, it's pretty centralized. Only 108 validators. Why? Because you need to stake around $30 million worth of Sui to own a validator to earn like an additional 3% a year, which is obviously not ideal. So obviously a bit centralized. We don't like that so much. Solana's a bit centralized, but it went up a lot, right? Okay. I want to buy coins that I think might go up a lot, or at least have a good chance of going up a lot. Now, if you get into some of the news, you can see going on about Sui, Tencent, one of the largest companies in China, basically behind WeChat app, which is like the kind of Telegram of China, but actually much better than Telegram, have now integrated an RPC service, which now supports Sui. Not only that, but ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, are now starting to integrate Sui into their Web3 gaming and SocialFi. And you'll see a lot of the various different partnerships happening in China, happening across Asia with Sui, and that's a very interesting thing, considering lots of people are kind of leaning towards maybe China opening up again to crypto. But there's one thing that's looking very positive for Sui, and it is actually that it is positioning itself as a Solana killer. And that's because the Sui team partnered up with Oracle Stork at the start of this year, which was enable builders to get first access to price data. Now, Solana is partnered up with Pyth Network to do the same thing. Pyth Network acting as the Oracle for Solana, and it gives secondary data to other chains. Therefore, using Solana puts you at an advantage over other different networks because you're getting the first up data through Pyth Network, which is designed to work with Solana. However, if you're using a different chain to get that information, then you kind of suffer a bit and you have a bit of lag time, which in trading and DeFi is an incredibly big issue. Therefore, it makes great sense as to why Sui is partnered up with Stork. See, they're going after similar markets. In the same way that Solana is also doing things like creating the Solana phone and working on some hardware, Sui is also creating other different devices, hardware devices, not just going after the software, going after the hardware, okay? Because software developments and upgrades are kind of limited on the hardware. So this is another way that you can see potential for Sui, getting some of that volume from Solana over onto Sui. That's what my bet is basically talking about right now. Now, one thing as well that I've noticed that's made Sui incredibly unpopular is that it has an ambassador program. Unfortunately, I'm nowhere near big enough a creator to be approached by an ambassador program like Sui, but they do have people like Raoul Pal on board, and that's very telling because these people have huge clout in the markets, okay? So whilst many people don't like ambassador programs and sponsorship, pretty much every project's doing it. Casper's ambassador program, ICP has an ambassador program, and they give grants or they give funds or early allocations or something to people to kind of talk about these projects. Ultimately, the influencers will then drive volume across. Raoul Pal, one of the biggest influencers in crypto, has been talking quite positively about Sui, which makes a lot of sense, right? And Raoul Pal has been one of the people I've relied on to give me advice. He's one of the main people who was talking about Solana at the bottom of the FTX crash that kind of flicked me towards Solana. So actually, I want to invest in companies that are investing in marketing and talking about hiring and bringing in like different influencers to talk about their projects, because actually that's why people buy things. You probably buy things because people and influencers talk about them. So it makes sense that a project would pay influencers to talk about their projects. Yes? Even though you don't like those coins? Yeah? Yeah, makes sense, right? So my main thoughts are really, Solana, I think, is probably going to go to around $700 this bull market, which from here is probably at best like a 5.5, maybe a 6x, okay, which is pretty good. Considering this year, we've already seen 15 to maybe even 20x points if you were buying in when we were buying at the end of 2022. But I think in reality, just given the size of the market gap from Sui and like the fact that it's stealing volume away from Solana, there's a reasonable shout for seeing Sui getting towards a 40 to maybe even $60 billion market cap, which still wouldn't even be the size of Solana by market cap in this bull market. And if it does something like that, then we're looking at maybe a 20 to 25x. It's very ambitious, I admit, okay, but I am pretty bullish on this particular ecosystem. I do think there is much better growth potential on that Sui versus Solana chart, okay? So go and do your own research. Could be completely wrong, okay? But this is just my bet. Okay, so one very important thing. I haven't just taken a big dive into Sui and nothing else. I made this video back in the autumn of last year, and many of the subscribers to this channel, remember, link down below, made huge gains on OrcaSwap, Render, and others. And why were we able to do it? Well, we identified that once one ecosystem does well, there's a lot of tokens underneath that ecosystem will tend to benefit from the growth of the ecosystem. Crypto is really quite straightforward when you just see what's happened before and then you just rinse and repeat it over and over again, okay? Justin Sun did exactly that by creating Sunpump after watching Pump.Fund make loads of money. He then made loads of money with Sunpump. Sun went up like a bonkers amount in a very short space of time. Tron meme coins went up in a very short space of time just by following the what went well on Solana model and then went well on Tron. Now we're seeing what went well on Solana that is likely to go well on Sui. So let's come down below on DeFi Llama, and you can see some different tokens and stuff that are going well here. Now, typically, when a chain does well, what does well on a chain? DEX, okay? We saw it with Pangolin, another coin that we called on the channel, on AVAX exploding. Also, Trader Joe had a very good time when Avalanche went up. Solana, OrcaSwap, Jupiter, Radium, okay? Therefore, it's worth having a look down here at DEXs, right? And you can see this one, Cetus, the top DEX currently on Sui. And that's pretty cool because Cetus currently has a market cap of $21 million. And we can see in the last 7 days, it's been starting to surge towards the upside, showing that there's lots of interest and attention going across to Sui in the ecosystem and this DEX on Sui. OrcaSwap currently a 5x on the current price of Cetus. Trader Joe like a 6x on that, which is the Avalanche DEX. And Jupiter, which is a big Solana DEX, is 20x at $1 billion. So this is what I've been looking at in terms of a DEX, okay? DEX play on the chain that looks like it's doing well. Go and do your own research. If you don't like that DEX, choose another one. I don't care, okay? I don't really mind whether you buy these tokens or not. I'm just trying to walk you through how I'm basically making my decisions. And how I've basically been making my decision is that the TVL on Cetus is actually really high, okay? 117 million. And sort of starting to grow aggressively when Sui's seeing some good growth as well, which makes a lot of sense to me. We can see the volume being pretty decent considering the size and the market cap of the token. We can see the fees being pretty steady and seeing some good growth as well. And the staking also starting to break out of this downtrend as well. So ultimately looks pretty positive from like on-chain data. And if you're wondering, this is why we care, okay? This was OrcaSwap, okay? Back last year from this kind of bottom down here. You can see it rocketed up like 19-20x in pretty much no time, okay? It actually basically went straight up When Solana season kind of kicked in back in October of last year, you can see OrcSwap really benefited from that pump. When AVAX had a similar pump, you can see Pangolin did a similar thing, went up 64-65x. Again, probably one of the best calls that we've had on this channel so far. And I think Pangolin, again, will have a good run through this bull market along with AVAX, especially from this current zone where currently at pretty decent prices. Crypto's pretty easy to talk about right now because every crypto is at pretty decent buying prices because the market is literally about to burst and everything's kind of sat steady after decent healthy sell-offs. So what else? Well, you can go and look at meme coins on Sui, and we'll perhaps have a brief look in just a moment, but as well go and look at staking lending platforms. Literally guys, go and look at things that have done well on Solana and AVAX, and Solana and AVAX have run well, and then go and try and find similar ones on Sui. If you've done your research into Sui and you also think there's a growth potential there. If you don't, I don't mind. Obviously, I've invested my money after doing my research. Therefore, you should do your research before you invest your money. But go and check out some of the lending platforms. I'd recommend going and checking out some of the ones that have been seeing significant growth over the last month or so, okay, because these are going to show growth in a number of areas. So for example, Sui Lend, you can see having a TVL currently 116 million, but look at this TVL going up and up and up, okay? Sui basically a borrowing lending platform. We've already seen a bunch of real world asset tokens do particularly well on various different ecosystems. Therefore, there might be a good opportunity to look into those as well. But all I recommend is to go across to DeFiLlama.com and then go and find a few of these platforms that are starting to show good growth in terms of TVL, and then maybe go and check what their kind of market cap is against that. So you're looking for big TVL growth in TVL, but maybe a price market cap that's a little bit lower. Like this one, like Navi Protocol, okay, you can see 217 million TVL, but market cap at 13 million, which is absolutely no-brainer. Therefore, we would anticipate that Navi Protocol is starting to see some growth as well. Now, you can see Navi Protocol, which was back in February, it's basically been kind of in an uptrend ever since then. Currently around $12.8 million. It wouldn't shock me if this does really, really well in this bull market, and we've literally just found it while we're talking about this, okay? It really isn't rocket science, guys. Stop relying on someone to just gift you the tokens, although I pretty much just gifted you a bunch of tokens. This is how you go and do your own research and find coins, which are probably going to do pretty well, okay? They've already started to do pretty well. And you can still get in at sub 20 mil market caps if you want to go and find coins like that, okay? You don't have to go and find YouTube videos. You can just go to DeFi Llama and follow the method that I'm basically showing you here. Obviously, you want to check websites, go and check the socials and have a look into these, see what they're kind of doing. Backed by OKX Ventures is pretty good, considering OKX is the third biggest exchange after Binance and Bybit. So that's a pretty big deal. You can go and see who they've partnered up with. You can go see things that are coming up on their platform. And other things that might be bullish for that crypto token. Whilst I don't advise it, you can go into meme coins on Sui. You might get lucky, maybe having a little flutter if you so wish. It's the weekend, maybe why not? So go to dexscreener.com, click on the left-hand side where it says Sui. Then what you want to do is click on filters. Make sure you go for liquidity. Write $50,000 plus. You want to apply. That's going to get rid of a lot of the rug pulls and crappy coins. You can then sort. This is not just meme coins, but you can sort by the ones that have been performing well, perhaps in the last hour or so, and maybe go and look into some of these meme coins, see what you like the look of. Lots of these are very early on, kind of smaller market cap coins like Fod the Pug, no idea, Meow, and then go and look at the socials on these. Maybe that's a good way to find some kind of early meme coins. But remember, meme coin trading is risky. Don't risk money you can't afford to lose, because many people do, and it's silly. Now guys, a lot of the things I've been talking about on the channel over the last few weeks has been shared with me by other experts who are working alongside me in the House of Crypto's Moon House, which is a Telegram channel. Now in this Telegram channel, you can see various different alpha being shared on a daily basis, different coins and ecosystems that are starting to see some significant growth. And the aim of this is to completely cut out all the noise and stuff that you're seeing on a daily basis from YouTube, from Discord, etc. All in one succinct place where you can find different entry for coins and things like that. Also, every week we have 1 to 2 live Zoom calls where we go over different coins and different strategies like the ones we talked about on this video in much more depth. Just last week, viewers in the channel saw us buy Superverse, which has gone up 54% since then. We bought previously some Wukong that did a 5 or 6x after that first initial call, which is a Tron meme coin. We've also seen a lot of growth in other tokens being talked about. So if you basically want to be spoon-fed and walked through this crypto market by myself and 2 other experts, cutting out a lot of the other noise in crypto, then make sure you go down below in the description, click on the WAP link, which is for the Moon House, and you'll be able to sign up. Now guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video, found it useful. Please do me a favor and just hit that like button. Go down below, it takes you just a second, smash that like button. It really, really helps me out and gets me to be able to grow my channel. Thank you very much for doing that. And if you're new to the channel and you haven't yet, and you like to go and learn a little bit more about how to actually become better at trading crypto rather than just being force-fed rubbish on a daily basis, then subscribe, and I'll see you later in another video. Bye-bye.